Hi YouTube, it's Kathy and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up from March 5th through 11th. This week I read 2 books, I watched 3 shows, and I listened to 1 book. If you're paying very close attention, I might have mentioned in the last episode of Weekly Entertainment Wrap-Up that I'm meant to be in Scotland right now, and that didn't quite happen. You see, the UK got a lot of snow over the last little while, which is pretty unusual, and it seemed too treacherous to take a car with 4 adults and 2 dogs and a bunch of luggage through that, especially when it doesn't have snow tires. So we are still down in Waytown. However, Chad and I are flying into Edinburgh on Tuesday, and I am so excited because, as you probably know, it's my favorite city. The first book that I finished this week is a new release graphic novel called The Moth Keeper by Kay O'Neill. You might know that name because of the Tea Dragon Society. I definitely did, and then I read a bunch of other things by this author as well. So if you enjoyed that art, I would imagine you would enjoy this art as well. In this world, we're following one girl who is just getting the role of Moth Keeper, which is very important in the society. This is a nocturnal society, and essentially the moths have to be taken out and to explore, but then brought back safely before the sun comes up. And this is a big responsibility, which definitely comes with the chance of burnout. Which is really what this graphic novel is all about. Burnout and letting people support you and seeing who has supported you and seeing that you have self-worth. There are also friendships, lovely side characters, a connection to history, an emphasis on storytelling, and I just very much enjoyed it. The other book I finished this week was Mort by Terry Pratchett, which is part of the Around the Disc in 800 readathon, which I am a book behind on. I feel like I'm a book and a half behind, almost 2 books behind at this point. Am I just back to being 1 book? I should have read Mort in the latter half of February, and then there's a book we were meant to read at the beginning of March, so I feel like I'm just 1 book behind now. Mort is the first in the Death sub-series in the Discworld series, and it follows this kid named Mortimer, or Mort for short, as he becomes Death's apprentice. Although a bunch of very amusing things happen in this book, it was kind of a slog for me. I'm really hoping I don't finish this project and realize I really only like the Witches books, because that would be really awkward. It is fun to watch Mort go into this different profession, see him have very little training, and then have to go off and do the things, and then obviously mistakes are made. You know, mistakes are going to be made from the very beginning because he's seen as somewhat of a screw-up where he's from. I'm also not going to lie, I mostly read this, like I read probably 75% of it, and then I listened to the BBC full cast recording, which is only about 2 hours, as a dramatization of this that was originally put on the radio. So I could listen to all of that and then just finish what happened at the end of the book, because it was getting to the point where I was like, if I have to keep physically reading this, I don't know if I'm going to finish it, and that's just a problem. It just needs to get done. I was also listening to it at a faster speed and sitting in a cidery that is local to here, which was just lovely, honestly. So I probably wasn't paying the closest attention to what happened, and there's a chance I did miss things because this is a dramatization that obviously cut out some of the flowery bits where there's no actual plot for a while, but it's the only way I think I was going to get it done. On to the shows I watched. We watched almost the entire first 3 seasons of Ghosts. No Americans, not your version of it, the UK version, the original version, like every other good show you've ever produced. Don't worry, that is mostly a joke, although today we did— Hello, Chimney Bird. Small update on that Chimney Bird situation is we still haven't told our resident chimney sweep about the bird. However, I found out that she has a YouTube channel where she paints biscuits, and they are gorgeous, so I'm gonna pop that link down below if you want to check it out. That is mostly a joke, although this week we did visit some of the areas where Broadchurch was filmed, so now I've been to the areas where Broadchurch was filmed and the areas where Grace Point was filmed. Both starring David Tennant, both playing essentially the same character with a different name and a different accent, because one is the remake of the other. In any case, Ghosts. I haven't seen the US version yet, so I can't even comment on it, but this UK version is so absolutely hilariously funny to me. Essentially, this woman finds out that she is the long-lost relative of somebody else who had this estate, and usually the lawyers would just be like, we'll sell it for you, you'll get the money, and then she looks at it and goes, you know, this is a big fixer-upper, so her and her husband decide to actually inhabit the estate. While they're there, all the ghosts are kind of mad that they're there, they don't really want her to move in, and and something happens to make it so that she can actually see them, and it goes from there. Like I said, we watched almost the first 3 seasons of this. I think we have 1 more episode of the 3rd season, but there was a Christmas episode, so I feel like we watched 18 episodes of this. And all of the characters are just so interesting and funny, and you get to see a bunch of different backstories, where they are from in time, how they died. It's just so good. We also watched all 4 episodes of the comedy special called Repetoire by James Acaster. I had never seen any of this man's work before, and it is really funny. I really enjoy the lengths he will go to set up a joke. There are just so many different running jokes throughout this, and so many different callbacks to different things, and then just so many strange things that he just completely commits to doing. And that's really admirable, and it's just so funny. There's now also at least 1 catchphrase from this that we shout in this house because it's funny. We also watched the first few episodes of a TV show called Plebs, which is pretty funny. It is set either 27 BC or AD, I can't remember, I think it's BC, or BCE, or whatever we're calling just before the 0 year. History is not my thing. And it's set in the Roman Empire, but it's set up in such a way where the people are talking pretty much how we would talk and making fun of things that we completely understand them making fun of. Even within the first few episodes, there were a lot of ridiculous situations, and I appreciated that. Also, the one that plays Frenchie on Our Flag Means Death is one of the 3 main characters. So that's really reason enough for me to watch it. The audiobook I listened to this week is The First Day of Spring. This one is a little bit of a weird one. It starts out as a dual perspective, and we see this girl named Chrissy. She is 8 years old, and as we meet her, she has just killed a boy. We spend a lot of this book trying to figure out why she did it, and then the answer to that is not always incredibly clear, and then it becomes more and more clear and more heartbreaking. Then we also get this perspective of Julia, who is a single mom and taking care of her daughter, and at first you don't really understand how these connect, and then when you do, it just makes it even more interesting. This one was recommended by Leanne over at Literary Diversions, I believe is her channel name. It's first thing in the morning, so if I got that wrong, I'm so sorry. And at first I was surprised. She possibly mentioned that there is a bunch of fat phobia at the beginning of the book, which is something that she does not tolerate. So at first, not having recently seen the recommendation, I was like, wait a second, why would she be recommending this? But it is from the perspective of an 8-year-old girl, and 8-year-old girls are absolute garbage sometimes, so it does move on from there, and you see some more clarity about these different people. It can be argued that it was a terrible character doing terrible character things, so there's that. So I don't know exactly how I feel about it. I could have done without some of the things, but that is also how some horrid children would talk about other people's bodies. I don't think it needed to be there, but it's definitely what that character would do. Leanne probably talked about it now that I'm thinking of it, but again, this was a recommendation I saw a while ago, so it's not clear in my brain. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you happen to be on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that, as always, is down below. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!